Welcome back to my kitchen, and thank you for joining us today on the Daily D. Today we're making beef pies. Now, I'm sure you've seen the beef pies you can buy for 99 cents in the grocery store, and they're little things, and you cut it open and it's like, where's the meat? Because there's just little wee pieces of meat like this, and it's a lot of nothing inside. My beef pies are nothing like that. So I start off with a tough cut of meat. You're going to go for the inexpensive meat. This is outside round. I think I got it for $2.49 a pound on sale. You can do this in a crock pot. You can do this in a Dutch oven on the stove or in the stove. I'm going to do it on the stove today. And I've browned it in a little bit of oil. And now I'm just going to put in a lot of water. Now, if I was doing this in a crock pot, I wouldn't put in as much water. But the fact is that on the stove, it tends to leak steam, which is some of the moisture, and the level of the liquid goes down. So I'm adding extra. Now, normally I would put onions and spices and everything else like that in the pie, but today I just want to show you a super easy way to do it at home. And so, you know, if you're just beginning to do meat pies and things like that, you won't be intimidated by a huge recipe. So you can get these at the grocery store. It comes in the regular onion and the onion and roasted garlic. So you don't need to put in onions and garlic and everything in there. Just throw that in. You're going to put the lid on it. You're going to cook it on high in a crock pot until it's almost fall apart tender. And you're going to cook this on the stove or in the stove at 350. On the stove, I cook it at medium-low. I don't want to cook it too fast, otherwise the liquid's all gone. And we're going to come back at some point and we're going to add potatoes before it's completely done. You can also add carrots at that time when we add the potatoes. Our house is not fond of chunks of carrot. We like shredded carrots in soup and things like that, but not in this. So our vegetable will actually be frozen corn in this. So I'm going to put this on the stove and I'm going to get back to you once it's farther along. So it's been about 3 hours. The roast is nicely browned and it still has a ways to go. It's not pulling completely off when I have my fork in it, especially in the middle. But it's far enough along that I'm going to put in my potatoes now. This is when you would put in some carrot pieces if you wanted carrot. I am probably putting in too many potatoes, but it was the last that was in the bag, so I just put them in, and if there are too many, the kids like them. These potatoes that have been cooked in this broth here. So you want to make sure however many you put in that they're covered, that there's plenty of room in here. And we're going to put this back onto the burner. Now you're going to want to make sure that you don't get the potatoes down to like mush. You still want them kind of sliceable, and I'll show you that part when it's cooked a little bit more. So we are back. We have our bottom pie crust in. Now I'm not showing this part because I'm making a separate video just on the pie crust, so I'll put the link below to that video because it'll come out before this one. And it's just because some people don't want to see how to make this, or they want to do fruit pies or whatever, and so all they want to know is how to do the crust. So we're going to cut the crust out parts, but if you watch that video you'll be able to see it all. So we have our pie crust. I've taken the roast beef, and as you can see, it's like stringy. which is actually desirable. Okay, and you are just going to layer the entire bottom with it. And as you can see, this isn't like your normal beef pie where it's where's the meat. This is full of tons of it, so it makes a really hearty meal. So you can just have this and maybe a salad and you're done. Okay, so once the beef is in and it's nicely covered there, then I take the potatoes and I just slice them and put them on top. I don't want big chunks of potato, I want slices, and I pretty well just cover the top of it. And you like them kind of flat so that they don't mess up your pie crust. Okay, so at this point, I forgot to bring them over. At this point, you're going to add some salt and pepper. And then I have a bag of frozen corn here, and I just put some over the top of it. We don't put a ton of corn in. So that's basically the pie. And then what I'm going to do is, this is the gravy I made. Now, this is, I didn't do anything to it by adding anything to it. This is just what it made, but then just before I put it in here, I put in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch in a cup with just enough water to liquefy it, and I stirred it in here, and it thickened it up just a little bit, so it's not quite as watery, but you don't want a thick gravy. You want it to be a little on the watery side, and you're going to add it until it's right to the edge. Now, if you're making several of these up and you're going to freeze them, it's best if you freeze them uncooked, okay? Because if you cook them and then freeze them, when you go to cook them again, a lot of the liquid is going to dissipate, and they'll still be very good, but they won't have as much gravy. So if you like the gravy like we do, then you freeze it uncooked, and then when you take it out of the freezer, you put it directly in a 450 oven for 10 minutes, and you cook it, and it's usually about 1 hour and 45 minutes before it's hot all the way through at 450 for 10 minutes, and then down to 350. So I'm just going to go switch back to the other video and put a top on this, and we'll be back. So welcome back. We have finished the pie crust. As you can see, it's nice and pretty looking. You'll see that in the other video, the pie crust that I'll link below. And this is now going into the oven at 450 for 10 minutes, and then we're going to lower the temperature for 350 and cook it between 45 minutes to an hour. You want a light golden brown crust, and I'll show you what that looks like. Everything in here is cooked, so you don't need to worry about undercooking it. You just want all the ingredients hot and the dough cooked and crisp. That's all you have to worry about. Unlike, say, an apple pie, you want to make sure the apples are cooked. So I'll let you know exactly how long I cooked it when I come back. I don't time things. I just put them in the oven and look, and then that's it. So we will see you then. So the pie is done. It was in the oven for 45 minutes. I'm just going to cut this now, and I'm going to plate it. Now this, you can make this with the homemade crust that I do. If you're not inclined to do that, then you can just use the ready-made crust. But if you get used to making the homemade crust, you'll find you're going to save yourself some money. If you can see how flaky that is. So this makes a really nice crust, this recipe. As I said, I'll post a link on it, and you can see all the gravy in here. So I forgot a spoon. I'm going to need a spoon, so I'm just going to go and get one. So I've plated a couple of these. As you can see, there's tons of meat. They're very hearty. The total cost came to, I would say, $14 maximum. So if you could get, we did 2 of these. So if you can get a dinner for 4 or 5 for under $7 or less, that's a great deal. Now what we did with the other one, this one here we've got in the freezer just to firm it up, and it's pretty firm now. And so we're going to cover this in foil, and then I'm going to put it in a large Ziploc bag. The 9-inch pie crust, 9-inch pie plates fit perfectly into the large Ziploc freezer bags. And then I just put what kind of pie it is, because I always keep a lot of pies in the freezer. Now, we also had some gravy left over, and I put this in the medium freezer Ziploc bag. And this will go in, and I will use this for when we have meatloaf or something. Rather than use a gravy mix or try and make my own, I'll just use this. There's no waste, and so we get the 2 pies. We've got gravy for another night, and we actually have dough to make a couple of fruit pies that I'll do tomorrow that we had left from doing this. So, that even lowers the cost of the entire thing, to maybe $12 or so. These are absolutely delicious. They're a family favorite. They love all the roast beef and all the gravy and everything in them. Give them a try. If you're not huge meat eaters, you could make half the meat and make 4 pies out of it, or make 3. And just put in a little bit more potato and carrots and corn if you're so inclined. And then you're making pies for like $3 a piece for dinner, which is incredible. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.